Good afternoon to one and all present here. Dave Snowden once said that we always know more than we can say, and we will always say more than we can write. On this note, I welcome you all on the sixth day of the world's first Turn 10 Day, a digital live international conference on issues of community agenda and news, ICANN 3, hashtag Conference for Change, in collaboration with Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia. Our knowledge partners are Adamas University, Kolkata, KR Mangalam University, Gurugram, Public Relations Society of India, Delhi chapter, and our media partner is the Policy Times. It's a congregation of media professionals, academicians, researchers, and students hosted by one of the most promising media institute of India, DME Media School of Delhi Metropolitan Education. Delhi Metropolitan Education is a premier educational institute which is affiliated to GGS IP University and approved by Bar Council of India. Today's technical session is technical session 10, and it's about new media, digital ethnography, and network communication. Now, I would like to welcome our esteemed chair and co-chair of the session, Dr. Arul Selvan and Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari. So I would like if Muskan is there and if she can hear me and if
Yes,
she can. So I would like that you please introduce our chair and co-chair for the technical session.
let me introduce the chairperson of our session, Dr. K.S. Arul. Dr. K.S. Arul is an associated professor with the School of Journalism and New Media Studies, IGNOUS, India. He is the coordinator for the MA in Journalism and Mass Communication degree program of the school. In addition to this, he manages an appreciation program in media and information literacy. He is a part of UNESCO's International Expert Committee 2019 to draft global standards for MIL curricular. Dr. Arul has 13 years of media education experience in Indian university system. Prior to that, he was associated with the South Asian online journalism program of the BBC World Service Trust as a trainer, mentor, and project coordinator. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to introduce co-chairperson of our session, Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari. Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari is doctorate in journalism and mass communication and has more than 10 years of teaching experience. She is working with the School of Journalism and Mass Communication, KR Mangalam University, Gurgaon. She has published and presented more than 15 research papers in national and international research journals and seminars. Her area of expertise include advertising, public relation, and media management. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Muskan.
Before starting the session, please follow these guidelines. The mobile or laptop camera of the chair, co-chair, and presenter will be on during the conduct of technical session. The question by the participants other than the presenter will be asked on the chat box. The description of the time will be put in the chat box. A notification will be sent by the student coordinator in the chat box on the completion of the 4 minutes to allow the presenter to wind up the presentation in the remaining minute before the beginning of the question and answer session. There will be Best Presenter Award as well, and we will announce it in tomorrow's technical session. And now, I would like to request our chairperson, Dr. K.S. Arul, and co-chairperson, Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari, to begin the session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Saxena and Dr. Susmita for inviting us for this session. Thanks, Manasvi, for joining me to conduct this technical session. New media and digital ethnography and network virtual community. There are a lot of names associated with this kind of concept. It's being studied in the last 20, 30 years of online field. Today, I'm interesting to be part of this session. I think the people must be from different locations, not necessarily from one geographical point. So that's virtual communities. people gather based on the interest. So that's a very interesting area, and studying in an ethnographic level. So I did my PhD in that area in 15, 20 years back, the early stage of internet introduced in India. That time it was very rudimentary system. So that over the period, I've seen a lot of growth in the concept. So I'm very keen to know understand the different papers in this topic. So I'm quite interested to see that. Manasvi.
Thank you, sir. And I am honored to be there with you in this session. And I'm really thankful to DME and the team, organizing team. And we are knowledge partner with them. So I'm quite, closely following their sessions. And, I keep on coming in and checking what is happening. So these people are doing really good job. Another thing is, yes, the session papers, I just saw I just had a glimpse of them and they are from different variety, as you said. So I'm looking forward for all the presenters to how, to share their work and then we can, have deliberations on that.
May I start the session now?
Yeah. So Muskan, tell the presenters that stick to that time. I think I was told 8 minutes for presentation and 4 minutes for discussion.
5 minutes for presentation, sir, and then 5 minutes for question answer.
Okay, we'll stick to that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Our first presentation of the session is a paradigm shift in public spheres from traditional platform to digital deliberation by Ms. Juni Kumari from Amity University, Patna, Bihar. She will be giving an oral presentation.
She's not here, I'm afraid.
Okay.
You can move on to the next one.
Yes. Our next presentation is on digital media as an alternative to conventional media by Mr. Aditya Jha and Ms. Tanusha Arora from Amity School of Communication, Amity University, Noida, Delhi NCR. They will be giving PowerPoint presentation.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
sir.
Okay, all right, I'll just share my screen.
Sure.
Is the presentation visible to the panelists?
It's starting. Now it's visible. Can you please put it to full screen mode?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so a very pleasant afternoon to all the respected panelists. My name is Aditya Jha. I was the author for this paper, along with Tanusha Arora, who is the co-author for the paper. The topic that we chose for this was digital media as an alternative to conventional media. For the introduction part, Digital News Report 2019 suggests that online news at 56% overshadows the traditional form of news at 16%. 43% has made government campaigns more successful. This has been made possible due to three factors. One, large amount of Indians that have been able to hybrid to the social media platforms. It is a valiant fact that 50% of Indians do not have access to a toilet, but have an access to a smartphone, which goes to suggest that people are realizing the importance of digital. Secondly, the politicians are realizing the impact of digital media and how they're able to influence people through various influencer-based campaigns. Three, digital media has made higher authorities more accessible and accountable. Just to give you an example, the Gautam Budh Nagar DM consistently through the COVID-19 times has been able to post on Twitter regarding all the developments that are happening in the city so as to make people, particularly those who are working, aware about the border disputes between Delhi and Noida so that people 24/7 have access to all the critical government information and can also criticize if they believe that something is going wrong. The Reuters Institute report of 2019 suggests that 68% Indians get their access to news primarily through their smartphone. The Comscore 2016 stats suggest that 96% of all internet users accessed a news website in the last 1 year, which suggests that only 4% people are not getting access to news. Otherwise, all of us, the rest of us, are getting access primarily to news via digital platforms. There were four major objectives of why we chose the research paper. One, we wanted to find the emerging ways in which digital media can become an apt alternative to conventional media. Secondly, the research impact of concepts like digital ethnography, digital divide, and being present to one another are certain topics which we felt needed to be covered in detail. Thirdly, how digital media has made the world turn from one-dimensional concept to multidimensional. And lastly, we wanted to research on all the experts of this field and get to gauge a sense of why digital media in the coming future can very possibly be a much greater alternative to conventional media. Now, I would go directly to the review of literature. The first is the concept of being present to one another. I just would like to bring to the notice of the panelists. We did 10 review of literatures, but since we have the hindrance of time, I The first is the concept of being present to one another. This speaks of how internet has made it possible for people from various diaspora all across the world to have access to one another. While you and I are not in the same room, we're in the same country, we have the opportunity to be accessible to one another through a Zoom platform. And this is not a country specific aspect. Even someone from the United States, Australia, or any other country around the world can have access to one another via such platforms. Secondly is that of digital storytelling. Now, digital storytelling is an aspect which I personally like to call as citizen journalism. So this is wherein we see people going on the streets, and if they feel that something is going wrong around their locality, they can take a camera, they can use their own phone, record it, put it on the internet, and make it viral. What we have seen in the recent times is that people are becoming more and more concerned as to what is going wrongly in their circumstances around. There's a scoop up story that recently happened wherein they showed how people are desperate outside hospitals and are not able to get a bed. And this story was not done on the news channels, but was posted on their YouTube channel, so as to show that there is no sense of censorship on storytelling for the digital platform. Thirdly, there's a critical stat that I would like to quote, that as per Inbound Marketing Report of 2012, 42% marketers report that social media has given greater presence to their business. These are social media campaigns, that are allowing businesses, small scale businesses, to do campaigns at a very lower cost and yet get a lot of accessibility to reaching their target consumers, and then targeting them to ensure that they convert from a customer to a consumer. There are two critical concepts, provincializing and mediatization. Now, provincializing is a concept which I feel is very relevant in the Indian context. People have religious views that are very strong in our country, and they are often able to articulate those views on platforms like Twitter and Facebook. How wrongly, how correctly is a matter of a different kind, but we do have the liberty to go on these platforms and articulate what we feel religiously to be superior. What is happening right now is, and I believe certain sense of measures need to be taken in this regard, that we have gotten this concept that one religion is more important or more superior as opposed to the other religion. So the aspect of provincializing is something that needs to be critically analyzed. Secondly is that of mediatization. Mediatization is a concept wherein you and I can go on a platform like MySpace and use it efficiently and judiciously to write on any issue that we deem to be important and for people to know about. Ethnographic approaches. Web 2.0 is a concept which I feel is very important to WikiLeaks. So Edward Snowden was someone who, put it in the people's eye about all the critical US documents that were not made public because the US government believed that censorship, and for that matter, even the aspect of, spying on people, was something that they deemed legal if it meant that it was being done for the protection of national security. But the documents were put on WikiLeaks. Edward Snowden left from the USA to the Russia, but people were made aware because of digital media about what the US government was doing wrongly, primarily because of what they were doing to the privacy of an individual. Secondly, Barnall argues that diaspora and IT share a homologous connection to one another. This is simply because in both, location is not a hindrance. As I said before, you and I can be on the same platform even though we are at different places, because we have access to one very important technology, that is the digital media. Thirdly, it is to be noted that cell phones have played a huge role in eradicating the ethnographic divide that we see in the society.
Sir, sorry to interfere, sir. आपका time हो गया है. आप please इसको wind up कर लीजिए.
Okay, so this is just, I would just like to tell you about the research methodology. The research methodology was qualitative and quantitative in nature. The research data collected from all over India. There was simple random sampling used. Both male and female were considered for the survey. This is the data analysis. How many hours you spend watching TV? How many hours do you spend? So the idea is, just quickly sum up, the data analysis were done so as to ensure that the questions overlap with another, so as to ensure that if you were saying that you gave more emphasis to digital media, the very next question wanted you to tell us as to why you felt that digital media was better, so that there is no contradiction that on one hand you're saying digital media, on the other question you're giving more emphasis to traditional media. These are just analysis of the question we did. Lastly, these are 6 conclusions that I would like to give you. Political parties have taken advantage of less informed Indian digital users. Secondly, awareness pertaining to digital media needs to be imbibed to Indian users. Third, digital ethnography as a concept has allowed Indians to be more liberalized with their perspective of being free to express religious views. 4, digital storytelling has allowed anyone and everyone to become a writer with broad narratives. 5, the spread of information is more rapidly paced on the digital platform as opposed to convention. And lastly, our searching habits have rapidly changed. Digital is indeed the future and a great alternative. I thank you for your patient listening.
Sir, if you can have any question, if we have any question, there is anyone who has any question, that participant can put it on the chat box and I'll read it on behalf of
Aditya, I'll start with the one question.
Yes, sir.
And when you are dealing with the online platform, you are referring a review of literature. I saw they all are little old data, maybe 10 years old, 2005, 2008. because this technology develops, then automatically the literature also comes with the different findings. So when you are dealing with a new concept like virtual communities, ethnographic and all that, try to refer the latest literature, maybe last 5 years,
Yes, sir.
2016, 2015 onwards.
Yes, sir.
2005, remember that.
I said tried actually doing that because since we had 10 review of literatures, basically the idea was to start from 2003, which is when the web presence started developing. And so in my paper, in my detailed paper of 8,000 words, what I did was I started from 2003 and also quoted study of ComScore and the IP report from the 2016, 17 and 18 period. But because of shortage of time, I could not include it in the full presentation. But I take your suggestion, sir. Absolutely true.
In the review of literature, you have showed only 4, 5. That both are 2005, 6,
Yes,
8.
sir.
You
Yes,
should
sir.
have shown us the latest one.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from anyone else? Manasvi?
Sir, I just want to request one thing that for the rest of the participants first, that we can decrease the time of ROL and they can talk about more about their research, design and findings, so that within the 5 minutes, I know it is very less, but within the time we have to finish that. Another is Aditya, are you an undergraduate student?
Ma'am, I'm pursuing my master's first year.
Are you doing masters? Okay, I just wanted to know because from the angle of you have not done research in details and still you have written a very good paper. I really liked it. I think questionnaire could have been more precise. Again, I have little concerns for the questions. So these questions are little, they are not sufficient. Could have been more details, and the scale you have used and everything has to be checked once. I think there is some little thing, but I think as a student who's not into the research as of now, but it is still a good paper. And of course, what Sir said, that is important. And when we are dealing with online data, there are a lot of other tools also available for analyzing the data. So doing a questionnaire will not give you the exact findings, or you can't say it's complete, but still I think it's very good effort.
Yeah, Manasvi is correct, and stick to your main findings. We have very limited time, 5 minutes, and we are very keen to know your findings rather than review of literature.
Since we do not have any question from any participant, Muskan, I think we should move on to the next part,
Yes,
paper
sir.
presentation.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is on how localized are the hyperlocal digital news platform, a study of West Bengal focused news sites by Mr. Sambit Pal, Dr. Ashish Kumar Dwivedi, and Dr. Minal Chatterjee from Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Dhenkanal, Odisha.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Yes, you're audible.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Professor Arul and Professor Maheshwari, and all of the panelists out here and the paper presenter. I'd like to just go to my presentation directly and present the paper. Yeah.
Can you please put it to full screen?
Yeah. This is a paper I have co-authored with Dr. Ashish Dwivedi, who is also here in this session. So how localized are the hyperlocal digital news platform, a study of the West Bengal focused news sites. So that's our paper. Now, to put it into context, that we have seen the growth of social media as a source and distribution platform in recent time. In last couple of years, we have seen that there is a change in news consumption pattern with cheap smartphone available and availability of internet data, and that is putting the traditional media, say print and even TVs, also trying to get into the digital mode as well, and they're facing competition with the social media, where anyone and everyone can put out information and claim that to be journalism, and of course digital journalism is coming up in a very big way. But there is a lack of local news coverage in mainstream media. We have seen that there is lack of human resources at the grassroots level. The focus is more on events, incidents of conflict, and very much capital centric. That's more Delhi centric. If something happening around Delhi, that gets more prominence, or any state capital that gets more prominence than any remote area or any district town. Online sourcing of information has also reduced much of ground reporting from remote areas as well. But there is a demand for local news in regional language in India, and One KPMG study of 2017 predicted that by 2021, 284 million Indians will be probably consuming news in local languages, and internet users in the regional language will also grow quite in a big way. So in this context, our study is focused on the hyperlocal digital news platforms operating out of the districts in West Bengal. So this hyperlocal digital news platform, what we are considering is mostly the news websites which are operating from district towns, and also which are using Facebook platform to disseminate information. So I'm not going detail into our literature review, just to clarify the concept on which we have based our studies. Hyperlocal journalism is geographically based, community-oriented, original news reporting organization indigenous to the web and intended to fill perceived gaps in coverage of an issue or region and to promote civic engagement. There are, this concept is developing. So, some scholars are saying this is a bottom-up approach, unstructured, loosely organized, and little monitored. Facebook groups set up by residents to aggregate both residents and information concerning a specific locality, such as an urban neighborhood or so. So objective of this study is that to understand if hyperlocal digital platforms in West Bengal cater to local communities or not, and explore whether they are covering the local issues or not. So we have two basic research questions. One is, do local issues get adequately covered in the local digital news platforms of West Bengal? And question number two is, what are the most frequently covered beats? Like, that will determine what are the issues that are being covered by the local digital platform. So for methodology, we have adapted content analysis, randomly selected 5 hyperlocal news websites and 5 Facebook pages, 230 randomly selected news stories from both the categories. Samples were drawn between December 2019 and January 2020, before this COVID outbreak. And news stories were classified into 4 mutually exclusive categories based on their geographical origin. And news beats were classified under 13 mutually exclusive categories. And this is on the basis of a previous study by Peter Xiang Chen of University of Southern Mississippi. And we have
sorry to disturb, sir. Kindly wind up, sir, because it's time.
Sure. Okay, so here is a result that 76% news in the hyperlocal news sites was local news. 80% on Facebook pages was local news. For websites, we have seen that 42.5% news won the general news category. For Facebook page, it was 39%, and that is the highest percentage of news that we have found out. And the conclusion is that these hyperlocal digital news platforms are very local in nature. However, they are focusing more on event or incident-centric news coverage, like crime and some incident, some accident, and those kind of news, and lack of coverage of developmental issues like health, education. In-depth coverage of those issues are lacking, and they're operating more in the line of mainstream media in their pattern. Even if they're focusing on local issues, local areas, their pattern of coverage is more on the mainstream media. So that's it. Thank you very much. And there are some appendix and references as well, if there is any question. Thank you.
Sambit,
yes,
that's a quite interesting topic you have presented, and you have studied the website as well as the Facebook pages of hyperlocal newspapers. Have you seen the particularly about Facebook pages? How are the responses? How many times people are responding, liking, or sharing the pages? How is the audience response to these Facebook hyperlocal news items?
See, I mean, the pages that we have studied, we had seen that about, minimum 5,000 to 6,000 people are either following or liking the pages. And there is a lot of conversation that goes on with certain kind of, news items, some videos probably in that there is high level of engagement between the publisher and the audience. That we have noticed.
And have you tried to understand why the Facebook hyperlocal also trying to go for political story and other crime story rather than developmental health story? This is what one of the findings you're saying. And what was it?
Right, sir. What we have understood that, they are basically the stringers or contributors of mainstream media. So they are not properly trained to, do this kind of journalism at the local community level as, this can graduate into community journalism in proper sense of the term. They're not trained to do that. So they're following what they have been doing for last several years. And they're now just, localizing the whole operation. That is what is happening. And that is probably the reason why we haven't seen in-depth coverage of certain issues. And also, sir, I have talked to some of the people. We haven't included this in this particular study, and we are developing this, this topic. They are more into getting more page views, more likes. They want more traction to their stories, and that they do not get if they're doing any, in-depth analytical story about one particular issue. So that's probably the reason that they are not yet interested to go.
The more page views means that they are trying to monetize the views, right? They're trying.
See, it's not yet monetized. The business model is not very strong as yet. But I think that's the passion that is driving them. That if they get more page views or more likes on Facebook pages, because in Facebook it's very difficult to monetize the content for this kind of news publishers who are quite untrained and they do not understand much of this digital dynamics. But that's a passion. If my video gets about 1 million views or 10,000 views, that is the boost that they get to cover news and put out there.
Okay, it's a last question to you. Others they can do that. And you said you spoke to a couple of people of hyperlocal newspapers. How big is the team, editorial team? Is it a small team or big?
Yeah, that depends. In some cases, a single person is running it. In some cases, 3-4 persons. In some cases, 10-12 persons. So maximum I heard about 10 persons who are running, but that's their part-time job. Like they are not dedicated to this hyperlocal digital news platform. So they're probably working for some publication and at the same time contributing here and running it.
Sir, there is a question, sir, from Manaswini M. Yogi ma'am, and she's saying if there is any suggestion as to how hyperlocal papers can work on the development issue.
Yes, there is huge opportunity, as we understand. There are a lot of issues which are not being covered, and that is what moved us to study this issue. Whether they're covering these local issues or not, there are a lot of issues like health issues, education. So those are not being covered by the mainstream media, and they have this opportunity. And I think if they get proper support, proper training, proper financial support, probably, and proper understanding of the whole dynamics of community journalism, then probably they can develop on that. That's what our understanding is. Yeah.
Manaswini ma'am, if you would want to.
I just want to ask one thing, because I was checking sir's paper. You have said in the paper that you have randomly selected 5 Facebook pages. I mean, how exactly you have random as in what? Because that is not mentioned in the paper. How you have chosen these 5? What was the exact universe and how many pages you segregated? What was the exact technique you used? Because I think that's a sampling. It's not mentioned there. Maybe you have done something. Again, on what basis you have written that 230 news stories were randomly selected? Even when we do random sampling, there's a way, like date wise, or maybe days the peak work. What exactly when you say random, what exactly which method you use for sampling?
Right. So what we had done basically was, there are a lot of websites that are operating on these platforms. But what we have tried to do is that you can call it kind of systematic or stratified sampling, in a sense that we first had seen those websites which are covering news, dedicatedly news, because there are certain Facebook platforms which are hyperlocal in nature, but they are aggregator, or they are very unprofessionally putting up some news from somewhere, or some information. So that is one consideration that we had. And randomly, as in we have just picked up news websites and Facebook pages from which are operating out of the district town. So the headquarter was in district. So that was our consideration, and this stories, as far as the stories are concerned, we have just picked up randomly from their website and also from their Facebook pages as well, the posts that they have made.
I think that should be justified in the paper, that what the base is. When you say random, you picked up random stories. Maybe you can say that I picked up those stories which were most shared. So you prepared a list in a day and there were 5 stories which were most shared, most liked or maybe commented. Then you picked up those stories or which you thought were relevant. But there should be some reason for even picking the pages as well as the websites, will you say. So there were like 50 websites who are working, but you have picked up these because maybe, they are popular, or there should be some data from where, you should select it. I think
I
that's what
get
I
you.
want
I get your point. I get your point, madam. Yes. But it was
and it should come
difficult
in your
because the
paper.
population is really huge,
Yes,
and that's the
exactly.
limitation of this paper, that we cannot generalize the whole thing, and that we have mentioned in the paper as well, that we haven't done the chi-square test and put it into statistical tools and all. So yeah, that's a limitation, but we just wanted to understand the trend in which these sites are okay.
Okay, Muskan, we can move on
Yes,
to
sir.
the next presentation.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sambit Pal. Our next presentation is on Network Society and Changing Dynamic of Media Communication, a case study of public discourse during Delhi Riots 2020 by Mr. Gagan Gera from Indraprasth College for Women, University of Delhi, New Delhi. He will be giving an oral presentation.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Respected Chair Arul Selvan sir, my friend co-chair Manasvi, Professor Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dean DME, Professor Susmita Bala, and dear students. My topic for presentation is Network Societies Changing Dynamics of Media Communication. I will be sharing a PPT. So it's can I please allow me to share this PPT?
Yes, you can, please.
Thank you. So my topics for presentation is Network Societies Changing Dynamics of Media Communication. So it's a case study on the public discourses during Delhi riots, which were happened in the month of February and March 2020. So network societies. First of all, I will define what kind of network societies here I'm referring to. I'm referring to the social media networks on WhatsApp groups. Like these groups are based on like Twitter, WhatsApp, and other social media platforms, and these groups are interconnected network societies based on certain kind of social interest. Okay, it can be of any based on many social fields, but mainly there is a society involved, a kind of social networking involved within that network society. So, and then the media communication is the tools which deliver the information to the people. And the study has social media as a vehicle of media communication, both for network societies and media outlets. So then the public sphere, which is like a social virtual sphere based on the Habermas conception of public sphere, wherein the idea is that public can come together and discuss social issues, and the idea here is to present things virtually. Then the mediated publicness. Now, mediated publicness is the idea of infusing information in social groups, in these social networks, wherein a careful mediation is being done to infuse the message within these groups. Okay, then these groups works on their own perception, their own selective approach. Like they will perceive the information, they will retain that information, and then they will diffuse that information. Okay, so mediated publicness here means the infusion of message within that public sphere. Public sphere here I am referring to the social networks which I have already discussed. So here when we infuse the message in social networks, the message becomes powerful. The message becomes so powerful that it resonates within the public, within that social virtual sphere. So messages are infused into these platforms through carefully mediated publicness. It's the message that become all powerful when it resonates through social media in network of societies. and this become a very complex situation and a high breeding ground for pushing in false and fake information to pursue an agenda. Most of the times, before you realize that about
Can I interrupt, please? I think we'll be short of time if we keep on discussing this. Can we just go to your research, design, findings, and all? Otherwise, Pramod sir will say that time is over.
Thank you for reminding. Network societies lead communication discourse in public forces in public discourses, social movements. Network communication commands more trust and power over other forms of media at the time of crisis. This was my hypothesis, and now I will explain the methodology here. My methodology was an approach based on the focused group discussion, which I have with the focus groups, with the people who are part of that communication discourse, and the qualitative study of their message communication on the social media. I have taken that through an ethnographic approach, and then the studies to analyze the content of social media usage on various different social media platforms and a kind of information access that these virtual societal groups have to their audiences or participants. So some of the findings, like from some of my findings of the communication discourse which were there. So easy availability of content. Hate content is already there, so they just push in the information. Sharing without caring, lack of the social media literacy, no ownership of the responsibility, and no fear of law. So this was my discourse when I have qualitatively analyzed the content of the social media which was there. So it's powerful because networks are already there, and you need to just push in the information, and the horizontal communication nature make it much more powerful. So we have to just diffuse the information within that arena. And then the selective theory approach, which I have already discussed, I am just reiterating that point. The discussion debates around the selective theory approach, like kind of message they want to perceive. Okay, because the discussion was already there, because already there was so much protest going on about the CAA, which was there, anti Citizenship Amendment Act. So it was based on the selective approach, like they perceive their and they diffuse information. Yes, I am completing.
Winding up, sir.
I am coming to the conclusion directly. So my conclusion was that network communication is all powerful. Okay, so we need to this is highly mediated, follows participatory approach. It has instant feedback. So we need to fix some amount of responsibility, and then, or agar responsibility, if we have kept that, then we could have managed with that Delhi riots, when if there was laws dealing with that, which were already there, but they were not implemented at that time. So then this is a very convenient way to disseminate information to the established network. So social media platforms have to find out ways to differentiate the authentic information. So there is lack of education on part of social media users, like how to verify the information which is not there. There is no established norms with which you can find out the way to find out whether the information is correct or not. So this is there. So this was my conclusion, wherein I have found it that there is no way we can authenticate any information, and there is no way the established networks are already there, but I think I have missed something.
Can we take some questions now, sir, if you are over?
Take a minute, just I'm completing it. I'm completing it. So with network communication, it is easier to mobilize people on social media with similar mindset that were easily worked out in the communication systems, as explained in the selective approach theories discussed above. selective perception, retention, and diffusion of information. So it is a very convenient way to disseminate information to the established network to retain the information and diffuse the information. And this is what was the basis of these riots, that the information were being diffused already, which was there as a hate content from like in my discourse I have written it that that police during the investigation found that there were almost thousand odd social media accounts which were already there. They were pushing in the information through mediated means. So I think I have
So we can take some questions now, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Arul sir, if you allow me, there are some questions.
Yeah. Chat,
okay.
There are good questions from Akriti and
Akriti Taneja says, thank you for your presentation on a relevant topic of this sort. And she has posed two main questions. One is, how did you sample your population for the FGD? And how many FGDs did you conduct to a generic conclusion on the network society in this aspect?
Okay, focus group discussion. My sample was based on focus group. Okay, so social media content is being analyzed through NVivo software that I have like used the keywords for finding out the information related to that matter. Okay, related to that riots. Almost like there were few hashtags that were running on Twitter, Facebook, and other, and then the information sharing on WhatsApp that is taking place. So that was one part of the my case study, and then other part is that I have spoken to the people like who were part of that campaign. So there were like there were members of the Jamia Coordination Committee, and there were other members of other from different ideologies that I have discussed, and then I have taken into account their like WhatsApp messages, and then qualitatively based on my question, my discussions with them on that those sharing. I have like reached the conclusion of this discussion. I hope I have like I have answered this focus group discussions.
Arul sir, if you
like,
want to ask,
like people were like known to me. Yes, sir.
There is a one follow-up question in the chat room. Please, Pramod, can you read that one?
Yeah, it says it's again from one is from Madhumita Das ji, and she says that you have written hypothesis for qualitative research,
yes,
and the methodology is not clear. And then Akriti has asked if you have highlighted in your research presentation that you have undertaken FGDs on the basis of groups with different ideologies.
Yes.
However, without a quantitative analysis, how did you conclude a difference in the ideologies of your FGD participants and their political perceptions? Well, she says then that the conclusion is a bit misleading since it cannot be generalized in a qualitative study of this sort.
Okay. So I think I must answer one question at a time. Everybody, please, first question repeat karna.
Okay, I'll repeat it, sir. Akriti ji says that you have undertaken FGDs on the basis of groups with different ideologies. However, without a quantitative analysis, how did you conclude a difference in the ideologies of your FGD participants and their political perceptions?
Okay, so I have not questioned anyone's political perception. If you can read my whole paper, then you will find that it's a generic conclusion. And generic conclusion is based on the research findings. Okay, based on the research findings that I have generated during the discourse, like the findings and discourses which were there on the social media platforms. So I think I have not taken up that thing.
Arul sir, if you would want to add on something.
Next question. Sorry.
No, that's it. Mainly the questions are related to your methodology part, and so that you have given an answer for this.
Actually, it's a very vast topic. So methodology was a bit on a dual side. So one was like I have to analyze. If I do content analysis, then it will be like a very mammoth task. So I have qualitatively analyzed content which was there on the social media based on the keywords which were related to daily riots. mainly the hashtags which were trending at the time of those riots. Because I have witnessed those social media accounts on a real-time basis and then made my notes related to that. That was a qualitative finding. And regarding the focus group discussions that I have already reiterated, that I have discussions with the people who were part of that communication discourses, like who were channelizing that information. So I have talked to them on social media groups. I have talked to them in person and got the account of the information that they are sharing on these social media platforms.
Gagan, I think you are trying to conclude your study based on the Delhi riots within that particular sample only, right? You're not applying to all the.
No, would have been difficult to get all the samples.
Okay, so you're trying to understand the context within that sample.
Yes, I have also taken into account the investigation of Delhi police that I have mentioned in my research paper also, wherein they have broken the chain of communication when they cracked in the social media networks of these when they cracked into social media networks.
Do you have any questions, Manas?
I just want to say that yes, I think his paper clearly says that, because I have paper with me. It's a case study of public discourse in Delhi riots. So he's not generalizing, but at the same time, the audience questions are also very much valid, Gagan, when they're asking you that when you are saying focus group discussion, so they want to know how many groups you discuss with, because you mentioned in your presentation. So these are some very relevant questions which comes up for every researcher, because how you did there, how many people you met. So that was not clear in the presentation, but I think in his paper it must be there. So from that angle, it is, their questions are also, I have the same questions. There are a lot of questions. Also, when you have written hypothesis, you have to do hypothesis testing. So I think in this kind of paper, in this such paper, whatever I've seen, there was no need to go for hypothesis, because you have not done hypothesis testing. So unnecessary talking about hypothesis and all will make things complicated. So rest of the things, yeah, because it's a case study, so things go, and most of the data is based on. I think you have done interviews of focus group, because I was reading his paper. So that way, as a not interviews, okay. So that part is, they just wanted to know that, and which is a valid question. So, but yes,
yeah,
you have to be very careful when you are talking about qualitative and quantitative. That confuses the audience a lot of times. So please just take care of that in future. Thank you.
So I can answer a bit on this also, that I have I have tried to speak to almost more than five people from in a focus group discussion. Plus, and then I have also mentioned in my research paper that I am not really revealing their identity due to the sensitivity of that information, sensitive nature of that information that I have access to, and it was very difficult to get hold of those people. So five people is more than, I think I've done more than enough to get the information.
So, sir, now can we move on to the next presenter?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay. Muskan, please announce the name of the next
Thank you,
presenter.
Mr. Gagan Gera. Our next presentation is on advertising on digital media versus print media by Ms. Priyanshi Jain and Ms. Divya Bhatia from Amity School of Communication, Amity University, Noida, Delhi NCR. They will be giving PowerPoint presentation.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So let me share my screen. So my presentation is visible to you all?
Yeah.
Okay. So my topic for the research paper is advertising on print media versus advertising on digital media. And as we all know that advertising is a marketing tactic a company uses to establish a different place in the market in comparison of their competitors. Company uses advertising to achieve success and build a good marketplace. And in today's growing world, almost everyone is dependent over advertisements which promotes over digital media more than advertising over print media. And media advertisements can be represented on television, internet, magazine, and newspapers. Print advertising is very expensive and also short term. The reach of print media is less than the reach of digital advertising. As in today's date, the youth of 18 to 24 years doesn't even read newspapers as they are more active over the internet. And advertising is the zone of showcasing, worried about the correspondence of data by the organizations to the market of the market members. The objectives of my research paper is to know how digital media advertising is better than advertising over print media and what are the advantages and disadvantages of both the medium of advertisements and which is more trusted by the audience, and to understand why digital media is important in people's lives. To sum up quickly, I'll just give you a short review of literature of my research paper. That is, that advertising is a method of correspondence with the clients of an administration. The organizations convert the thoughts and ideas to make the visual content designs and subjects to speak with the client. After endorsement from the customer, the advertisements go on accordingly to appointments done by the organization media purchasing unit. And digital media can be defined as a promotional activity done over the internet, and digital media is growing rapidly and will keep growing in future. Print media is one of the oldest form of advertising, and print media advertising can be defined as the promotional activity done over the different types of print media, that is physically printed media, to reach the public. My research methodology is the research approach I used was quantitative. The research type was quantitative, and the area I chose for my research was the internet. And the sample technique was a survey, and the sample frame was people from 15 to 50 years. And a survey was asked where a set of people were asked some questions, which led to the conclusion of the research. The questions of my survey was the most trusted social media platform by the people, and have they ever bought a product because of the advertisement over the Netflix or Prime Video application, what form of print media they use, newspaper, magazine, brochure or other, what is more appealing to them in digital media, and what kind of media advertising they prefer, how much time they spend on social media or internet, and have they bought any product after looking up its advertisement on the internet, what is the first thing they pick up when they wake up. And according to the survey report, approx 87.7% of people prefer advertising over internet more than advertising on print media. Almost 45% of people spend more than 4 hours on internet. While conducting the survey, we also got to know that most of the people buy products after watching the ads on the digital media platform. So basically, after the survey, we get to know that more than 70% of people find advertising over digital media to be more appealing. And the survey clearly shows that print media is going to vanish in the coming period of time, and digital media will keep on growing because of the following reasons. Because of it is easy to use, it is time saving, it is eco-friendly, it is cost effective, appealing, and reach wide range of people, and immediate updates, etc. The conclusion of my
you can just conclude it now, ma'am, because the time.
Yeah. The conclusion of my paper is that both print media and digital media have their own focal points and determinants and have strong client base. The research also reveals that digital media is very much important in people's lives in today's date, as it makes connectivity easier and also easy to use anywhere and any time of the day. Apart from the digital media has made immediate updates easy, as we can update anything over the internet the moment we get to know about it. So overall, if we go through the research paper, we will find out that with the growing era, the youth is trusting internet more than the print media. Also, digital media is beneficial for the business to promote itself and advertise themselves on a large scale, which will lead to less money investments in advertisements and will reach a wide range of people. Thus, the conclusion is in favor of digital media advertising more than media advertising. Thank you. Any question?
Priyanshi, and what is the reason for comparing digital with the print? You can compare with any of the platform, right? What is the logic for comparing with the print?
So, because in today's date, we all know that instead of reading a newspaper or going through the advertisements over the newspaper, the moment we wake up, we pick up our phones and we go through the InShots application for the latest news updates. And most of the time, the young youth and the people are spending over Netflix and Amazon Prime, which highlights those pop-up advertisements. and people.
No, Priyanshi, the question is not about digital. Digital is growing, that's okay. But what is the logic behind your paper for comparing with the print advertising? Why are you comparing with the print? Why not with the television?
So because with the growing time, print media is vanishing, and I thought that digital media will be compared to print media more in a better way, because digital media is beating up print media in today's date.
No, print media already stagnated. Digital is growing. But the
Yeah.
digital is competing with the television, not competing with the print. Television is nearly 44% domination. And
Okay.
print is around 20-22%. And the already medium is stagnated. You are saying it's dying. Then you should compare it with the television because it's dominant one. And that's what digital media is fighting with the television. And in Western countries, TV growth also going down, not in upwards thing. Okay. So when you take a comparison, you take it in a logical way. What could be the reason for that? Right? Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
There is no question. Manasi ma'am, if you could
I just
add
want
some
to
value.
say, exactly. I just want to say, Priyanshi, that it's a very valid point. आप उन दो चीजों को compare करते हो जिनमें comparison का scope होता है ना? तो जिनमें comparison का scope नहीं है, वो you don't compare. Are you a student of masters or bachelors?
Masters, yes, ma'am.
Masters, yes. So from the research point of view, a lot of things to be done in your paper, even the basic things like sampling, referencing and all. And your paper is based on a lot of your views. So that's the one basic thing which I was just checking your paper. You, as a researcher, this is for all of us to understand. We do not put our views. Whatever you say, even one line, that is not what you feel and what you observe, as in you have to prove it in a research. So from the research point of view, paper is really weak, but I'm really happy that you people are attempting. So I really, I do it, and I have, asked my students to join this session particularly to see how undergraduates and master students, they get into research, and that's the way you learn. So I'm really happy about you people, and I really, I'm happy that Amity is encouraging their students to do such kind of presentations. But yeah, a lot of work to be done from the research.
So, ma'am, I'll make sure I'll work on it again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Muskan, since we do not have any question, we can move on to the next presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ms. Priyanshi Jain. Our next presentation is on impact of technology aided visual communication based on students' perspective of digital film revolution by Dr. Rajiv Kumar Panda from APJ Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. He will be giving an oral presentation.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes.
Dr.
Yes,
Rajiv,
sir.
can you please turn your camera around? Like keep it horizontal, please. Yes,
It's
yes,
already
yes.
okay. It's vertical.
Horizontal.
Because I am on the mobile.
Yes,
now,
yes. Now
okay?
it's fine. Yes, yes. Perfectly
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you also.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure. It's also a matter of pride. When you are presenting a paper and one of your students is co-chairing that session. So good afternoon, Manasi. Good afternoon, Professor Arul. I must, thank Ambrish Saxena sir, Bala ma'am, having this international webinar, which is happening during this period. During this, corona pandemic. My paper is basically impact of technology-aided visual communication. This is based on students' perspective of digital film revolution. As you all aware, technological revolutions have influenced and impacted the world like never before. It has changed the dimensions of information dissemination. With the invention of digital cameras, the role of visual messages in communication has dramatically changed the art of storytelling in the age of globalization. It provides an unexpected freedom in the field of communication to communicate, educate, and persuade. So the powerful engaging communication is that which combines both words and pictures equally and respectfully. So the digital cameras have opened a plethora of opportunities for young filmmakers who are not confined by the limitations and cost of films. Digital social platforms are also adding the scope for young filmmakers from across the globe to showcase their talents with the films made by using digital cameras. So the digital film revolution has nurtured entrepreneurship and employability. So, my paper deals with phenomenon of impact of technology-aided visual communication. That is basically, digital filmmaking using a digital camera, which is primarily designed and invented for shooting still photos in the center of its workflow. More precisely, it examines whether and in which ways so-called digital cameras have influenced this digital filmmaking. The SLR cameras, single lens reflex cameras, have been used for more than centuries in the world of still photography. At the beginning, the additional letter D, standing for digital, was received with a great amount of skepticism. Some people might have guessed that digital cameras would become standard and almost, completely replace classical film for still photos. However, I doubt there was anyone who would have guessed that the later D all together with SLR and now DSLM, digital single lens mirrorless, would make a revolution in the field of motion pictures. Basically, for the study, my objective is the presupposition of this paper is that involvement of digital camera technology has significant impact on the final product, that is the film. The accuracy of this claim will be determined by examining 3 levels of filmmaking. That is, number 1, decision making about shooting technique. Number 2, the film workflow. Number 3, the final product. So in this paper, I have discussed whether or not the impact of digital cameras on these 3 levels was significant enough to warrant speak about the digital filmmaking revolution in film, and in what ways, if any, digital cameras have influenced these levels of filmmaking. So according to, my preliminary research, I defined few research questions. They are, as follows. Number 1, what are the reasons for which student filmmakers make their decision in favor of using the digital camera technique? What are the technical advantages of involving digital camera technique in making films? To what extent do digital cameras help with budget saving? What role do the other aspects, such as, like intimacy, mobility, simplicity, etc., play in filmmakers' decision making? And what are the manifestations of these aspects in the final product? And the last question is, what are the disadvantages and limits of involving digital camera technique in making digital films? So my methodology was, this is basically, the study is exploratory in nature.
Sir, if you can just start winding up, because it's already 5 minutes.
Yeah. Just give me another 2 to 3 minutes, Pramodji. The methodology is, basically focus group and qualitative analysis that was done based on following parameters. That is reason behind using digital cameras, the workflow of digital cameras, the technical advantages, the impacts on storytelling, ease of handling the equipment, the performance and the future of digital revolution. A focus group of journalism students from Delhi was created with a sample size of 18. Initially, 40 students were shown interest to be part of this focus group. The final 18 students were selected based on having the equipment, also the experience of making digital films, more than 10. They were again, divided into 3 focus groups of 6 participants each. They were interviewed with structured questionnaire. Rationale behind the selection of journalism students was because they may understand well the process of digital filmmaking. Proper coding was done to analyze the result of focus group based on the research questions. All focus groups, lasted approximately 60 minutes and were moderated by me. And, for this, what I did is, for the convenience of the students, I also, prepared a few questionnaires, just to ease all the students, just to get the answers. So based on their answers, I also did few subjective evaluations also. When the aspect affordability is there, as the film projects related to digital medium are very often on small or low budget, this was considered highly relevant. It helped all the participants with budget savings, independence on shooting schedules. So they found, it is highly relevant when it comes to affordability. When I discussed about some technical, points like narrow depth of field, so they said, okay, it is not exactly highly relevant, but that is relevant for them. When I asked about performing of all these digital cameras in low lighting conditions, they found it, more relevant. When I asked about the mobility, again, they found that this is, highly relevant. About intimacy, most of the participants are of the opinion that, digital film cameras helped them to develop more intimacy between camera operators and protagonists. So they found it, highly relevant. Sound recording, again, they found it highly relevant. When I asked about, camera handling and controlling, they found, okay, though it's a drawback of digital film cameras, due to its small size, due to its ergonomics, they found it, not relevant. When I asked about simplicity of, their shooting workflow, they found it, a highly relevant. So my conclusion is, time is very short. The revolution, which started as a matter of absolute coincidence, was greatly carried forwarded by student filmmakers communicating on the principles of digital media communication. The real revolution does not lie in the particular technical, aesthetical and other advantages which have been described in this paper. It has been shown that these kinds of advantages might be regarded as pros as well as cons, always depending on the context of a particular digital film project. Digital film revolutions did not appear as a deeply thought move of camera manufacturers. It was the result of filmmakers who sacrificed their time in order to democratize the medium. The digital world boosted the revolution up and spread it around the world. This trend of democratization of cinematic look has not stopped yet. Full HD was a dream few years back, but now it's a standard even for a mobile phone. Even 4K quality is packed in a camera which is smaller than a cigarette pack. Viewers can watch 4K videos in social networking platform. So this is the impact of technology-aided visual communication revolutionizing the whole medium. The story is telling us that everyone can be part of this revolution. Thank you, Pramod. Bearing with me, giving me the extended time.
If there is any question, Arul sir, if you want to ask, because there is no question in the chat box right now.
Okay, Dr. Rajiv, and
yes, sir.
What motivated you to do this research?
Basically, I am by heart a cinematographer. I am a film institute graduate, so I teach all these subjects. Lots have been told regarding professional photographers. So when I see, all my students, they are using simple mobile phone cameras, their digital cameras, DSLR film cameras in making their films, and even if, they have their YouTube channels. So that prompted me to, to do this kind of, discussion, how the impact of this, digital cameras on storytelling.
So being a cinematographer and the teacher, and now you are admitted in your paper saying that the technology enables the individuals to go to the public through social media. So how do you assess the situation? Are they the now common people or the journalism students with the technology? Are they using it a proper way, or what kind of input you need?
Yes. If you will say, being a cinematographer, my heart says, whosoever is using the camera, they should at least learn the basics, and then, they should try filmmaking. But on the other hand, it has democratized the medium. Everyone has that kind of freedom, when they are having the mobile, when they're having all these digital cameras, when they're having the ideas. So I can conclude, ideas, that is the king and queen nowadays. So, if you have the ideas, you can make a very good film. Technology, that has impacted, but
But see, they have a camera, mobile technology, digital technology. They are making a film. So when you see the film from this kind of common people in the social media platform, but it has a good idea, but
Yes.
it doesn't have a proper technology or proper the packaging pattern. You know the much better the cinematographer, but the film doesn't follow any proper rule, but it has a good idea, good narrative style, good story. So how do you rate that kind of film?
Basically, you have given me an idea to write another research paper on this. Next time, what I will do, I will, like, I have hijacked your ideas. So next paper will be on this only.
Okay, Manasvi, your
I just
teacher.
want to say,
He's a teacher, colleague.
Yeah, he's my teacher, and all the time, whenever we interact, there's so much learning from him. Even today, I just learned that how a technical person can, we can bend it with the research. And all the time, we have been struggling with such kind of questions when technical people come to you and say, having production research mein nahi karna. Sir has given us an idea and inspiration for all the people who are into the production, that how you can streamline both things, how you can merge them together, and still there's so much learning all the time. Whenever I'm interacting with him, even if it's for 5 minutes, I learn. So today he has given me a lot of inspiration that I can also motivate people that aisa nahi hai, you can also work on so many angles and you can get research into your work. So thank you.
Thank you, Manasvi. Basically, I have already said it's a matter of pride. When your student is, co-chairing the session and you are, presenting a paper. This is the real, you can say this is the Global Teachers Award for me.
Thank you, sir.
Basically, I have learned a lot from you. The thing, when I joined academics, I was a pure professional. So all these students, Professor Arul, they have taught me, how to teach effectively.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rajiv.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Manasvi.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Muskan, let me also update you. We had our first presenter, Ms. Juni Kumari, who could not join because of some technical reason. She is now there in the session, and she will be presenting her paper now. So, Muskan, if you can just announce her name and her topic.
Pramod, is it the last presentation or what?
So there will be one more after that, sir.
Yes, sir. Our next presentation is on a paradigm shift in public affairs from traditional platform to digital deliberation by Ms. Juni Kumari from Amity University, Patna, Bihar. She will be giving an oral presentation.
Ma'am, can you please turn the camera around? Keep it horizontal, please. Yes, perfectly fine. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, panel. And am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you're audible. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can.
perfect.
So the topic of my presentation is the paradigm shift in the, just a second, just a moment. I would like to take one more, please. Yes, the topic of my paper is a paradigm shift in public sphere from traditional platforms to digital deliberations. In this research, I have conducted this through the focus group discussions, where two categories were there of the students and one of the teachers, the media students and the media educators. Here in this discussion, we came out with the conclusion that we can say that yes, the paradigm of the public sphere has been shifted from the present life situation, in the live situations, to the virtual life. In the virtual life these days, we have more discussions than that we earlier had in the real life. Like we had coffee culture and coffee houses culture. We had like in India, if we talk about Indian situations, we had the chopals, we had the many different platforms were there. We used to discuss and we used to highlight the problems that were being raised in the society or that were happening in the society. But now the things have been changed with the invent of the digitalization, with the invent of the youth, which are becoming so gadget friendly, and you can say they are just living on the net only. So these discussions has been shifted to the digital platforms. Now the discussion that should have been taking place in the real life is now taking place in the digital platforms. There were so many examples also that were asked by these students, and they had mentioned that yes, there were so many things that has been shifted. Like the if we go with the objective of the paper to analyze the if the essence of public sphere has lost due to the shift in medium from traditional to digital, to find out if the traditional public sphere is fading, the digital media has diluted the original concept of Habermas public sphere. Facebook is replacing the coffee house culture. And the answer to the objectives were yes, definitely the essence of public sphere has lost. And this loss is due to the invent of new digital age. The second, we say that if the traditional public sphere is fading, yeah, the traditional public sphere is fading because people are not they are sitting together for such a long, or they have so much of time to sit in real life and to discuss the problems. Whereas the same at the same time, on the virtual medium, people discuss, people share their comments, people share their objectives, and they keep on discussions. They're commenting, re-commenting, the things go on. And those discussions, sometimes it takes some you can say a worst position also, but yeah, sometimes they come with a fruitful outcome also. Now coming to the Facebook is replacing the coffee house culture, then I can say yes. From the research, from the after the focus group discussion, it was like that. Yes, that people who were who had lots of time earlier to sit in the coffee houses and to have the discussions on so many issues. Now those issues are being discussed on Facebook. You can say Twitter. You can say there are other platforms also. But for my research, I have taken Facebook. So this is, I think, my topic and my presentation. And if panel will allow, I'll go with some of the questions and some of the answers which I have received in the focus group discussion, or I will come to the conclusion.
Ma'am, it would be great if you would come to the conclusion, because we are already short of time. If you can just come to the conclusion, Dari.
Okay, sir. Okay, sure. I'll come to the conclusion of the this research. Now coming to the findings and conclusion. This study concludes that there is a paradigm shift in the public sphere from traditional to digital. This still emerging digital platforms are creating the virtual public sphere among the people. It was also found in the focus group discussion that the social networking sites of Mark Zuckerberg, that is Facebook, it's somewhere in the society taking the place of traditional public sphere. And after this, conducting this technical focus group discussions, we found that yes, we can say that there is a shift, there is a paradigm shift in the public sphere from traditional to digital platforms. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Manasvi, any questions?
Manasvi ma'am is on mute. Ritvik sir, if you can unmute Manasvi ma'am.
Some signal problem from her.
Now, yes.
Okay, if no questions, I think we can move on to the next.
Okay.
We
Muskan?
can
Thank you
move
so
on
much.
to the next one.
Yeah. Muskan, if you can just
so
announce
much.
the name of the next presenter.
Thank you, Ms.
Manasvi
Juni
ma'am, would you
Kumari.
like to say something?
Thank you, ma'am.
I was just wanted to say that there are a lot of, again, the same thing which we said in the earlier paper, shifting that traditional platform to digital platform. That's something which is happening, and we need to do when we are doing something like this. We need to pick up very strong points and strong things to prove and give something new. So whatever I'm seeing right now is something which is very general, which is happening. It is visible everywhere. From the research point of view, whenever we do any research, it has to add to the existing knowledge. So that angle is kind of missing or could have been better. Otherwise, rest is fine.
Okay, ma'am.
Muskan,
Actually, ma'am, the angle which I have taken was the focus group discussion, and it was very important to know from the youth. Like, if there is a shift in the paradigm, there has to be some of the proof, like through research, and that I have tried to do with the focus group discussion, and I have come with the conclusion that yes, Facebook is one of the major medium which is replacing the traditional public sphere. So these are some things which are new to this research and to our society.
if you allow, can we move on to the next presenter now, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay. Muskan, please announce the name of the next presenter.
Our last presenter is Mr. Adarsh Sharma from DME Media School, Delhi Metropolitan Education, Noida, Delhi NCR. His topic is Consumption of News by Youth in Digital Age. He will be giving PowerPoint presentation.
I think you will have to set your camera. It's not on. It's not happening. You can keep it straight only in that case.
Sir, 1 minute, I will connect again. I am leaving, I will connect.
It's fine now.
Why don't you use your laptop only? Others?
Is adjusting his system. That Arul sir, was supposed to leave at 3:30 because he has some like engagement. So, sir, if you want, leave, but just say a few words about your experience today.
Okay. Others, I'll miss the presentation, but I have another engagement. I have to go immediately. And thank you, Professor Saxena, and thank you, Dr. Susmita and DME for giving me this opportunity. One of the best experiment, I think. I never dreamed of having this kind of setup, but you people have achieved that. It's kind of 10 days and gathering people very systematically. And I think we have to learn a lot from you people, your experience. Thanks a lot for inviting me. Thank you. I'll take a leave, please.
Thank you very much.
Extremely sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Thanks, Manasvi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I want to share my screen.
Yeah, can you share it?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Adarsh Sharma. I am pursuing my graduation from Delhi Metropolitan Education, New Delhi. Today topic for my research paper is my topic is the consumption of news by youth in this digital age. I will further continue in Hindi. ये टॉपिक मैंने इसलिए चूज किया था क्योंकि मैं जानना चाहता था कि जो यूथ है कंट्री का, वो किस तरह से जो न्यूज है उसको ले रहा है, कैसे उस तक ब्रेकिंग न्यूज और सारी न्यूज हैं पहुंच रही हैं। इसके लिए जो मेरे मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव थे वो ये थे कि मैं ये जानूं, मुझे ये पता लगाना था कि यूथ कैसे न्यूज को किस मीडियम से कंज्यूम कर रहा है और यूथ किस मीडियम को ज्यादा रिलायबल मान रहा है और किसको क्रेडिबल मान रहा है। इसके साथ साथ मैं ये भी जानना चाहता था कि यूथ अपना सबसे ज्यादा टाइम किस मीडियम पे खर्च कर रहा है, किस मीडियम से न्यूज लेने में अपना सबसे ज्यादा टाइम वो स्पेंड कर रहा है। मेरा अगला ऑब्जेक्टिव था कि मैं जानना चाहता था कि यूथ को जो ब्रेकिंग न्यूज है वो कहाँ से मिलती है। कोई भी बड़ा इवेंट होता है, कोई भी बड़ा इंसिडेंट होता है, उसके बारे में जो ब्रेकिंग न्यूज सबसे पहले जो पता चलता है वो कहाँ से पता चलता है। इसके साथ ये भी है कि यूथ सोचता क्या है डिजिटल मीडिया के बारे में। डिजिटल मीडिया सब कहते हैं कि बढ़ रही है, लेकिन जो यूथ है जो इसके पीछे सबसे बड़ा फैक्टर है वो इसके बारे में क्या सोचता है। साथ ही एक डिजिटल मीडिया का जो फेक न्यूज है उसका एक बहुत बड़ा साथ है कि दोनों को एक दूसरे से कनेक्ट किया जाता है। तो इस बारे में यूथ क्या सोचता है। जो मेथोडोलॉजी थी मेरा क्वांटिटेटिव सर्वे था, क्वेश्चनएयर मेथड। मैंने एक क्वेश्चनएयर बनाया था, उसमें करीब 15 क्वेश्चंस थे, सिंगल आंसर्स विद मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चन। और जो मैंने जिन लोगों को भेजे थे वो जो मैंने कोशिश की थी कि मैं ज़्यादातर 15 to 25 जो एज ग्रुप है इसके बीच के लोगों को अपना क्वेश्चनएयर भेजूं, जिससे मैं यूथ का जो मेन पर्पज है, जो मेन पर्पज था यूथ का पता लगाने का, वो उस पर मैं मेन फोकस कर पाऊँ। मेरे पास इसके लिए करीब 250 रेस्पॉन्स आए थे, जिसमें से करीब मैंने 212 क्वेश्चन सिलेक्ट किए थे। बाकी मैंने कुछ सैम्पलिंग एरर की वजह से हटा दिए थे। सैम्पलिंग एरर ये था कि कुछ लोगों ने जो 25 से ऊपर थे उन्होंने भी ये क्वेश्चन भर दिया था, तो मैंने उन क्वेश्चन को अपने रिसर्च में इंक्लूड नहीं किया था। इम्पोर्टेंट नोट ये है कि ये जो स्टडी थी कोरोना वायरस पेंडेमिक इंडिया में स्टार्ट हुई थी उससे पहले की थी। तो हो सकता है कि इस टाइम पर कोरोना वायरस के वजह से लॉकडाउन हुआ है, तो लोगों के ट्रेंड और जो न्यूज रीडिंग हैबिट्स हैं वो काफी हद तक बदल गई हैं। साथ ही ये जो सैंपल जो क्वेश्चनर मैंने भेजे थे वो ज्यादातर मेरे फ्रेंड्स थे और मेरे ऐसे रिलेटिव्स थे, जानने वाले थे जो दिल्ली एनसीआर में ही रह रहे हैं, और साथ ही जो मेरे दोस्तों के रिलेटिव या दोस्त हैं। तो ये जो मेरी रिसर्च है ये बस उन्हीं लोगों का जो ट्रेंड है वो रिफ्लेक्ट करती है। मैं ये वो नहीं कह सकता कि ये जो रूरल इंडिया के लोग हैं उनकी भी यही ट्रेंड होंगे, क्योंकि हो सकता है कि उनके पास जो फैसिलिटी हैं वो अलग अलग हों, उनके पास इतना फोन या दूसरे इंटरनेट की फैसिलिटी ना हो। मैं सीधे अपनी कंक्लूजन पे आता हूँ। जो एनालिसिस था, कंक्लूजन था, जो मेरे रिजल्ट मुझे सामने आया। सबसे पहला ये था कि जो ऑलमोस्ट 55% पार्टिसिपेंट्स जो थे मेरी रिसर्च के, वो डिजिटल मीडिया पे डिपेंड थे न्यूज अपडेट्स को पाने के लिए। मतलब वो न्यूज की जो अपडेट थी उनकी 55% लोगों के पास वो डिजिटल मीडिया से आ रही थी। एक अगला था कि 39% जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स थे उन्होंने माना कि न्यूज को पाने के लिए जो डिजिटल मीडिया है वो मोस्ट क्रेडिबल मीडियम है। डिजिटल मीडिया को मोस्ट क्रेडिबल मीडियम माना 39% पीपल ने। साथ ही 37% पार्टिसिपेंट ने माना कि न्यूज़पेपर मोस्ट क्रेडिबल मीडियम है न्यूज को पाने के लिए। मेरा अगला रिजल्ट था कि मात्र 18% पीपल ने ये माना कि वो जो ब्रेकिंग न्यूज होती है उसको ट्रेडिशनल मीडिया से लेते हैं, यानी ब्रेकिंग न्यूज उनको टीवी, न्यूज़पेपर या रेडियो से पता चलती है। वहीं 82% पार्टिसिपेंट ने ये माना कि जो ब्रेकिंग न्यूज होती है वो उनको डिजिटल मीडिया सोर्सेज से पता चलती है। इन सोर्सेज में ई न्यूज़पेपर और जो डिजिटल डोमेन्स होते हैं अलग अलग प्लेटफॉर्म के, इसके साथ साथ सोशल मीडिया जो पोस्ट होती हैं जो लोग डाल देते हैं, ब्रेक करते हैं न्यूज अपनी इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे न्यूज चैनल से देखकर या कहीं और से देखकर। साथ ही साथ लोग इतनी जल्दी मीम्स का एक कल्चर है कि जैसे ही कोई न्यूज होती है उस पर मीम बन जाता है। तो 82% पीपल को ब्रेकिंग न्यूज इन्हीं अलग अलग सोर्सेज से पता चलती है, उनको टीवी न्यूज या रेडियो से या पेपर से ये नहीं पता नहीं चलती। इसके बाद जो अगला मेरा ये था, मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था कि यूथ कितना टाइम किस मीडियम पर खर्च करता है। तो 76% लोगों ने माना कि वो आधा घंटा या उससे ज्यादा के लिए टीवी डेली देखते हैं, और करीब 60% लोगों ने माना कि वो आधा घंटा या उससे ज्यादा के लिए डेली न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ते हैं। रेडियो की जो फिगर्स थे वो बहुत कम थे, मात्र 21% लोगों ने माना कि वो रेडियो डेली जो न्यूज रेडियो पर डेली सुनते हैं आधा घंटा या आधे घंटे से ज्यादा के लिए। लेकिन यहाँ पे भी डिजिटल मीडिया की बात निकल कर आई, 85% लोगों ने माना कि वो लोग डिजिटल मीडिया पर न्यूज पढ़ते हैं या देखते हैं आधे घंटा या उससे ज्यादा के लिए। मतलब 85% लोग अपना आधा घंटा या उससे ज्यादा टाइम डिजिटल मीडिया पर दे रहे थे न्यूज लेने के लिए, न्यूज पाने के लिए। मेरा नेक्स्ट रिजल्ट था कि 82% लोगों ने ये माना कि डिजिटल मीडिया है वो न्यूज वर्ल्ड का फ्यूचर होगा। मतलब फ्यूचर में जो न्यूज के नाम पे सबसे ज्यादा जो फायदा होने वाला है, जो सबसे ज्यादा डेवलपमेंट होने वाला है, वो डिजिटल मीडिया में होने वाला है। 73% लोगों ने,
सॉरी टू इंटरफेयर, आप इसको अगर वाइंड अप करते हैं क्योंकि आपका समय पूरा हो चुका है।
यस सर, ये 3 पॉइंट और हैं। 73% लोगों ने माना कि डिजिटल मीडिया क्रेडिबल है और रिलायबल है इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए। पे कॉन्ट्राडिक्टिंग चीज निकल के आई कि 82% लोगों ने ये भी माना कि डिजिटल मीडिया फेक न्यूज को स्प्रेड करने में एक अपना योगदान दे रही है, कंट्रीब्यूट कर रही है। साथ ही साथ 72% लोगों ने ये भी माना कि डिजिटल मीडिया पर सेंसरशिप होनी चाहिए, जो हाल फिलहाल तक बड़ी उसमें नहीं है। सब लोग जाकर जो इतने सारे पोर्टल हैं अलग अलग लेवल पे खुले हुए हैं, कुछ बड़े मीडिया हाउस के, कुछ इंडिविजुअल लोगों ने भी खोले हैं, तो 72% लोगों ने माना कि सेंसरशिप होनी चाहिए। थैंक यू सर।
मनस्वी मैम, अगर आपके पास कोई सवाल हो उनके लिए।
आदर्श, एक इम्पोर्टेंट बात, आपने जो सर्वे किया वो किस एरिया के लोगों के साथ किया?
मैम दिल्ली, मेनली दिल्ली।
वो आपकी रिसर्च में आना चाहिए बेटा, क्योंकि हम जब हम कोई भी सर्च स्टडी कर रहे हैं, 250 लोगों का आपने सर्वे किया, तो आपको मेंशन करना होगा कि किस एरिया में, किस रीजन के लोगों की हम बात कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज सबके फाइंडिंग्स अलग अलग होंगे। दिल्ली के स्टूडेंट्स या दिल्ली के यूथ अलग तरीके से काम करेंगे, किसी दूसरी स्टेट में अगर आप करेंगे तो अलग होगा। तो ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट है जो आपके पेपर में मुझे मिसिंग दिखा, ये जरूर होना चाहिए। दूसरी बात ये, अगेन आई वुड से दैट यू हैव डन रियली गुड जॉब। अगर मैं एज ए स्टूडेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखूँ, यू हैव ट्राइड टू कवर maximum number of things। क्वेश्चंस भी आपके स्टडी के में आई कुड नॉट सी इट हियर इन द पेपर, बट यस, जो आपकी फाइंडिंग्स है उससे मुझे क्लियर है कि आपका जो सर्वे हुआ था, आपका क्वेश्चन आपने किया, वो बहुत एग्जॉस्टिव था। कुछ चीजें और आप कर सकते हो, एंड यू हैव प्रमोद सर जैसे रिसर्च के टीचर्स हु कैन हेल्प यू इन मेकिंग दिस पेपर मच बेटर। आपकी थोड़ा सा रेफरेंसिंग में कहीं पे आप चार्ट्स लगा सकते हो, ग्राफिक्स यूज करके, तो और अच्छा आपका पेपर लगेगा फाइंडिंग्स के साथ, मतलब थोड़ा अच्छा दिखेगा। आपने ऑल दो बहुत एग्जॉस्टिव करा है, बट हाँ, एरिया वाला एंगल आई थिंक आपको इसमें इंक्लूड करना चाहिए कि आपकी स्टडी कहाँ पे, वो कहीं पे भी मेंशन नहीं होता है। That's one important thing. And Pramod sir can always, he can help you making it look more, informative and useful.
आदर्श, आपके लिए एक सवाल आया है। सवाल ये है कि ट्विटर पे आने वाली खबरों की सत्यता को लेके आपके शोध कार्य में क्या निकल के आया?
सर एक्चुअली मैंने मेजर फाइंडिंग ये अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन में इंक्लूड की है, लेकिन क्वेश्चनियर में मैंने एक सवाल ये भी इंक्लूड किया था कि वो कहाँ से न्यूज को क्रेडिबल समझते हैं, किस प्लेटफॉर्म पे। तो करीब ज्यादा लोगों ने ये माना था कि फेसबुक पे न्यूज ज्यादा क्रेडिबल होती है ट्विटर के अपेक्षा। लेकिन इसके लिए भी कि जो सत्यता होती है उसके लिए भी ऐसा कोई वो प्लेटफॉर्म ऐसा नहीं है कि ट्विटर पर आप देखकर सीधे न्यूज देखकर बता सकें। उसके लिए जरूरी है कि क्रॉस चेक किया जाए, क्रॉस वेरीफाई किया जाए, या फिर जिस ट्विटर पर भी जिस सोर्स से आ रहा है उसकी सत्यता देखी जाए कि वो किसी वेरीफाइड मीडिया हैंडल से डाला जा रहा है या कोई ऐसा ही इंडिविजुअल है जो उस चीज को डाल दे रहा है। तो उसमें इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे समझना ज्यादा जरूरी होता है।
Muskan, do we have any presenter?
No, sir. He was the last. Thank you, Mr. Adarsh Sharma. Thank you so much for this fruitful session. Now I request Teacher Coordinator, Mr. Pramod Pandey, to kindly conclude the session.
I would request Manasvi ma'am to throw light on her experience of this particular technical session before I take the session.
Thank you, Pramod, and I would like to congratulate each one of you. All of you have actually, since the topics were so different and vast, so it was learning for us also. And we were able to see that how even the new students who are doing graduation and masters, they have, started taking interest in the research. And doing this at, starting research at this level will really help us, and we will definitely get some good research papers, because in media we face this kind of problem. People are, they face a lot of issues when they are doing research, that which topics, how to get into the new things. But now, I feel really positive, and I see a lot of good work being done. And of course, like Arul sir said, and it's really different experience for all of us to, present and be there online. And I'll be also be presenting my paper, and my students will be there on, in the next technical session on Monday. So we are looking forward to that. I would just want to say thank you to each one of you for doing such a wonderful job, and I really enjoyed being there.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Before we move on to the fag end of this technical session, and before I request Amrish sir and Bala ma'am to say a few words, I would like to tell you that we received 202 abstracts and 141 papers for ICANN 3. And all these papers and the abstracts, they have been conceptualized into 6 books, which include 5 English books and 1 Hindi book. So wherein 174 authors have contributed. So I would like Ritvik sir to play the book release video once before we move on to the next one. Thank you very much, Ritvik sir. I would now like Professor Dr. Amrish Saxena sir to say a few words so as to conclude this technical session, wherein we had so many presentations, so many good presentations, and so much of deliberation over issues that are of utmost importance to all of us. So please, sir, please enlighten us and throw some light.
Thank you, Pramod. So this was a session. This is a good session, obviously. Every session is different, but then it's exclusive in the sense that there's a different topic being dealt with, and the different nature of papers are being presented. Very diverse kind of topics are being touched upon. Like in the earlier session in the day, that was more on the women's issue and the crime against women and all, and the whole deliberation went on a different length. And then this session is obviously on digital and related issues, the new media, the digital ethnography, and the network communities. Now, I mean, there's nothing can be said about the importance of digital than what we are doing on this platform to hold this conference. So, I mean, whole thing is established that not only the present, the future, everything depends on the digital, but then what kind of usage is being done of the digital platform, that is important, because ultimately it's a technology. So for whatever purpose you are using the technology, and whether you are using the technology to the benefit of the society for the sake of development, that is much more important. The technology is there, obviously, and the kind of papers which were presented in this session, which proved the importance of digital photography or the videography, which was the main thrust area of Dr. Rajiv Panda, and there was also one paper on digital advertising. So, and then there was one comparative, but then there's a print with print media, but then the importance of digital was in any case established, and for the development purpose, like this paper which was presented by Sambit. Wherein, I mean, how can you use the digital technology for community development or for development projects? So it is something which can be used for varied purpose, but ultimately the single point which is common to all purposes is the benefit of the society. So that in any case has always to be kept in mind that there is more and more scope for research in this area, since this is an upcoming area, this is a developing area, and the kind of technology that we have today, it's going to be changed every day. It's changing. Like if we talk about the Zoom that we are using today, I mean, for all 10 days for holding this conference since the time it was launched, since that time till date for the last 3 months, many changes are happening, and whatever loopholes are there, those are being plugged. So it is a constant changing technology. And then whatever technology we have, there is a lot of improvement is desired in the sense which is bound to come, which we can talk about speed, which we can talk about the network and the accessibility. All these problems we are facing in this conference. Conference also, somebody's network is not there. Somewhere the disruption is there. The signal is weak. I have faced twice this problem during the last 6 days, that there is a this power breakdown. So, I mean, in my home where I am sitting. So the whole technology became useless for me, because once there is a power breakdown, then obviously I'm not able to connect, because power is linked to my Wi-Fi, to my internet connection. Power gone means the internet connection gone. So, I mean, so many linkages are there. So internet, I mean, digital is definitely a good thing, but then we have to have the continuous power supply. So if we are facing this kind of problem in the national capital, we can simply understand what kind of problems rural people will be facing if any such thing is being organized. And then obviously in the internet also there is a long way to go. This whole speed issue is very crucial in at least developing countries. So in India, if the future is of digital, as we all are facing this and realizing this, that the kind of problem we are in due to this COVID-19 and this lockdown, and though this opening of the lockdown is there, but then we are practically in the lockdown in the sense that there's a tough time, testing time, so nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. But then the world will go on, life will go on. So we will need digital in more in our functioning. We have always been using it. If I can tell about this ICANN, in ICANN 1 also, in ICANN 2 also, we use the digital technology, though the conference was in a face-to-face mode. In ICANN 1, since that was to be inaugurated by Mark Tully, the noted journalist, eminent journalist, but since because of his own issues and problem in which he was not able to make it to the venue of the conference, that was DME. So we got his message recorded and played it in the inaugural function. So we use the digital technology. Similarly, in CIFI, we organized the session from Australia of Dr. Vikrant Kishore's session, which was on Skype. We have been using it, but very selectively. But now we are completely banking on this technology. So as far as the academic part of the whole thing is concerned, if the technology is developing, it's evolving, and its use is more and more increasing, then obviously there is a scope for academic people and in media academics, because what we do in media, we use the technology enabled the content. I mean, we are producing content with the help of the technology. So we are more dependent on the technology. So technology has to be such which is fulfilling our purposes. And so there is lot of scope for research as far as the academic part is concerned, or media education and research is concerned. So I believe more and more students and researchers will look into this upcoming area for the purpose of research, and some good work we can expect in the digital research. So that is all what I can say in this session. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your valuable opinion. Now we'd like our HOD ma'am, Professor Dr. Susmita Bala ma'am, to say a few words.
Thanks to Dr. Arul sir. Thank you, Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari. It was indeed an interesting session. Digital has penetrated in every walk of life, be it videography, advertising, or development projects. So thanks to everybody for participation. A special thanks to our panel producer, Mr. Ritik Ghosh and Sumantra Sarthidas. Thanks and thanks again to all of you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well, I was about to say that I wanted to thank Ritwik sir and Sumantra sir for their constant technical support, without whom this entire show would not have been possible. And I think we've been doing so well. It's the 6th day and we still have 4 days to go. So really thankful to Ritwik sir and Sumantra sir for their constant support. I would also like to request all the participants to please fill the feedback form that I have shared in the chat box. So before leaving, please do share your feedback with us. And before I move further, I want to tell you that for any information related to ICANN 3, you can follow and like our ICANN 3 social media, Facebook and Instagram pages. Well, all the sessions of ICANN 3 are available on Facebook page and ICANN 3 playlist on the YouTube DAB TV channel. Also, ICANN 3 is on LinkedIn, where there are more than 400 connections, all researchers, academicians, VCs, deans, HODs from universities of colleges of India and abroad. So make sure to connect on ICANN 3 LinkedIn page. It's a great place for networking and building a community for academic excellence and adding value on the earth we live in. So ICANN 3 also has a web page. You can get all the relevant sources from there, like links from where to get the ICANN 3 books, the video playlist, and all the reference material, ICANN 3 proceedings, souvenirs, and everything. So stay connected with this hashtag Conference for Change. And also, before I conclude this technical session, I would also like to thank our partners, Deccan University, Melbourne, Australia, Adamas University, Kolkata, KR Mangalam University, Gurugram, Public Relations Society of India, Delhi chapter, and also our media partner, the Policy Times. Thank you very much. With this,
Pramod, I want to add, let us tell about tomorrow's session as well. Tomorrow, that is 27th of June, we have two important sessions in the morning. The first session will be held at 9:30, will be taken by Professor Umesh Arya. That is on data scraping, and that's a very, very vital session for all those who are interested in media academics and research, particularly the research scholars. And another session will be held at 11:30. That will be taken by Professor Jayashri Jethwani, who is a former professor of Indian Institute of Mass Communication, and right now she is an ICCR fellow. In ISSR fellow, and then she will be talking about this COVID-19 from the perspective of disaster management. So I urge all the people who are there in this session to attend tomorrow's session, and I think it will be beneficial for everybody. Pramod.
Well, I think with that, we mark the end of our technical session. I thank all the participants, all the presenters. I would like to extend special thanks to Manasvi ma'am, Arul sir, who's not here right now with us, Amrish sir, Bala ma'am, and all the faculty members of DME Media School. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.